What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Jeff Needs Sports and All Ball Network production. This is a great night. So what we're going to do, we're going to call this the State of the NBA. And what's special about it is I've actually got a couple of great guests who actually watched basketball before Shaquille O'Neal played. So we got some actual perspective from some actual veterans, to be honest with you. So we got the Culture Marauders with us tonight. We got Curtis and Kyle, my fellow Marauders, which I always keep the pen close, the coin close. And you know what I mean. So I'm pretty excited about this. So I want to thank you guys for coming on.
All right, thanks for having us, man. It's always a good time when we connect.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So essentially what we're going to do is just kind of break down like how we feel about today's NBA. Of course, we'll reminisce about yesteryear because that's just so fun to do and kind of figure out how we, got from A to B, basically is what we're going to do. So we're just going to kick it off here. Curtis, I know you got some big ideas on this. Kind of talk about the evolution of the game. I think everybody admits that it's a different game than it was, in the late 80s, early 90s. So we're going to kind of talk about how it got there, what happened, and who took us there. So I'll just kind of let you guys take it away with, the differences and the players that made it this way.
So I'll start, and thank you, Jeff. I think we're looking at the basic idea, like the big picture, right? The big picture is finally coming into view for what this sport is supposed to be. You're getting away from, hey, you're 7 foot, you need to be down in the paint. You're, 6'9", 6'8", whatever. You need to be on the block, and then so forth. We are in the era of truly positionless basketball, and it's fun as hell to watch. You were seeing, dudes that have no business handling the ball, no business, doing the stuff they're doing, and they're just doing phenomenal stuff, and it's like nightly. And, I've always watched the game, whether it be the Sacramento Kings versus the Memphis Grizzlies or Vancouver Grizzlies at the time, or real whack teams. I always watch the game because you never know what's going to happen. But now I'm telling you, with the Euro game finally, front and center, and just the way these guys are playing, the money that's in the league now, and just the exposure and the market and all this stuff, man. I mean, it's so cool to watch and see, David Stern's vision finally come to fruition of what he wanted for the NBA.
I'm glad to hear you say that, man. Before we get to Kyle real quick, a couple of weeks ago, I tweeted that out. It was like, and that's what I meant. And that's kind of what inspired this show is like, that's what I meant was like, it feels like I'm finally seeing the NBA, like the plan worked. Like this has been the plan for 20 to 30 years. Since what? Well, let's talk about maybe the Olympics in 88.
Oh, you got to go back. You go back before. Yeah, like you said, yes, the Olympics in 88. But I'd say you can even go back to the previous Olympics. The 84 and
was that the loss?
Yes.
Oh,
and,
yes.
Is that someone they got the silver medal and they haven't got it yet?
Yep.
It's still in the vault.
Right. You wouldn't accept it. And you're looking at, Euro players, man. The Euro players have always been fundamentally sound. And now you're looking at the same Euro players with that fundamentals. Now they're getting the athleticism that, our players have, always had for the most part. They've watched the Jordans. They've watched the Magic. They've watched the Kobes. All these guys. They've watched these guys and emulated them just like American kids have. And now they're bringing that foundational game with the flair, and it's something else, man.
Well, I mean, I look at it as, like you said, it's where we need to be. But for people like myself, it's still weird seeing a Joel Embiid handle the rock or Giannis, and it's like, but it's like, okay, David Robinson did that, Dream did it. It's just like, but they weren't supposed to do it. So now, like you guys said, the positionless basketball is fun to watch, and it brings out a whole lot of stars that you wouldn't think would be stars in the NBA, because they can do it all, instead of just you go down in the paint and we'll get you the ball when we can, So I like it. It took me a while. The play-in thing kind of, but
like I forgot Memphis even won the play-in game to make the playoffs. That's how long this has been going on, right?
Yeah. So I think once they streamlined it a little bit more, because it was a bit confusing. It was confusing. Because I had some money on the line. That's the only reason I say that. But
that'll confuse things real quick.
Yeah, it was. So I like it. I like the young stars. I think every team is gonna come back around and do something. Like now we have two teams that one won in 71 and the other one hasn't won at all.
Ever. Yeah.
So yeah. I like that. I like that. And me and Kels was talking about this probably when you were here about how it's just fun to watch somebody else and I'm a big Steph fan besides Steph and LeBron in the finals. Because we know what we're gonna get. We know what we're gonna get. So I think I like it.
I think it made for a better playoffs all around. And I'm glad to hear you guys say that because it always feels like I'm fighting an uphill battle. And it's not, and this isn't a like young people don't get it, anything like that. It just always feels like everybody trying to tell me how, if it's not a big name city, which I've never understood why that mattered in sports. None of the guys on the team most of them aren't from the city. I never understood why that mattered. I mean, Kels, you're wearing a Phoenix jersey, like that they shouldn't be an NBA, but they're a great NBA city. I mean, I never knew why the LA thing, the New York thing mattered. I'm not saying I don't care when they're in it, but I also can appreciate the players. And then, I've enjoyed it a lot. I've enjoyed seeing the young guys learn. I think we've watched Giannis learn how to be a basketball player, and since Game 5 of that Jets, wrong New Jersey team, the Nets series, we watched Giannis learn how to play basketball, winning basketball, and he's like, okay, I need to chill out on the 3-pointers till the offseason and go at the hoop. And we watched the most previous game, like he just went off. He was just a bulldog, and that's what we get to watch the evolution of these guys. We watched Ayton, we watched him become better through the playoffs. Booker, we watched Booker take a step back. I think he's taken a bit of humble pie. Like he was getting put on this pedestal, and I know he's a great player, but I'm saying we've also watched him like, oh wait a minute, it's not as easy as you thought it was going to be Game 1.
I think
things like that.
I think with Devin Booker, it's intentional because, aside from, I think there's one player who had been on that team longer than him. He might be the longest tenured player on that Suns team.
He might be.
Right. But now he's learning. The talent was there. Now he's learning how to lead. And now in order to lead, you got to follow first. And he's never had to do it because he's always been the alpha. Now with Chris coming in, now he has to follow. And that's only going to make him better.
Absolutely.
Once Chris Paul leaves, retires.
Well, I think that he's, like Jeff said, he's taking that back seat because he knows somebody that's been in the league since before he was born, pretty much. And Chris Paul is from the home state. I'm from North Carolina. He's from the home state. And to see this guy never really get to the second round, or if he got to the second round, he got bounced. Now to see him at 36, 37, doing what he's doing because he's killing that mid range.
Yes,
and they know where he's going, and they still can. And he's not athletic at all, and they still can't stop it. Yeah. But the thing I like, to get to your point is Devin Booker saying, you know what, man, if we win, people will want to come and play. People will want to come and play. So let me just go on this fantastic journey and let's see what we do.
Yeah, exactly. It's learning to be a teammate, learning to be a better. That's what and I think this has been one of the best playoffs I've ever seen for advancement. We watched the Sixers learn in a different way by getting knocked out. We watched, all these things happen, which goes back to what we talk about. You guys brought up Embiid. We talk about Giannis, talk about Kevin Durant at 7 foot tall to do what he does. So how did we get from, Kyle brought it up, if you're 7 foot, get under the basket. How did we get from there to the perimeter game with these big guys? Like, to me, I know Hakeem was one of the big evolutions of the game to me, and he could have been all these guys. He's one of the guys that like would kill it right now. He would be so comfortable right now. But how do we get here?
Go ahead.
I'll take this one. So I look at it like this, and it's crazy that you said, I think one of the biggest guys that I never saw play probably would be Wilt. The reason I say Wilt is because he was a Harlem Globetrotter. So, do you understand that this dude 9 times out of 10 could probably handle the ball?
Mm-hmm.
He can handle the ball. You know what I'm saying? So, I look at that and say, well, wow, this guy has the talent, but you come into the league, hey, none of that razzle-dazzle shit. Go to the block. You know what I'm saying? Go to the block and earn your money, whatever. And I think, like you said with Hakeem, when David Robinson, and I mentioned him earlier, he was a guy that could put his head down, probably in open court. I've seen a lot of highlights of him when he scored 50 that game or something like that, where he was running the floor and all. But the thing that really why I would choose Keem over David Robinson is because this guy would catch the ball 10 feet from the basket on the sideline, basically coffin corner sideline, and give you some moves and I know and for those of you that don't understand, if you've never watched a World Cup, Keem played soccer, so his footwork was awesome. So to see somebody with the ball, with their feet, with less than a yard, do a move and get by somebody, it's what he incorporated into the game. And then it's okay, time goes on, and then we get back to, we need a big man, and then it's Shaq, and it's whoever else you want to throw in that picture that was just a big man. You know what I'm saying? But I think now these guys, man, they don't want to be put into a basket. They just want to hoop. And I don't know, man. It's amazing to me, man, what these guys do. For real, it is.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. What Giannis is doing now. He barely even. He's just learning to play real. He's learned to play in the professional ranks.
Off athleticism, he really hasn't put it together yet. He sees the court.
But he's figuring it out.
Yeah. He's figuring it out along the way, but he's just relying on athleticism right now. So
which is a good and bad thing. Ask LeBron.
Right.
It depends on and it depends on what he does too with it. We see Ben Simmons. I don't question his motivation or anything, but I question his techniques in the offseason.
I do.
It's the question's there to be raised. What are you doing in the offseason? We know the historic offseasons we watch Jordan. You guys know Jordan, Kobe, those guys, their game changed every year. This different, it's just everything about it. And just some of these guys don't. So Kels, I'll let you take this one. We talk about the evolution. The biggest difference in the game is the 3-point shot. That's not even close on the discussion. I put it out there the other day. It was one of the Bulls championships. They made 5 3-pointers in the entire championship run. I don't remember which year it was, but that's insane compared to a player has 5 now. It's an all right night.
Steph will have that in by halftime. He'll have 5 halftime.
He'll have 5 threes on a good night. He'll have 5 threes in the first quarter.
Yeah, and how did I don't really know how we got here outside of just him doing it. It feels like it had to be more gradual, but man, I don't remember anything until Golden State was we don't care anymore.
I'll tell you where it came from. It came from those Spurs teams, those later Spurs teams before Duncan and Ginobili and Parker got out of there. That's where you started seeing more space, more ball movement, and all that stuff. When they went against Miami that second time, or hovering around that time, you started seeing it, and it looked like a soccer game. Just the spacing and the movement and the cutting and precision. And that's where I started noticing. I was like, man, these guys don't look like the old Spurs that would put you to sleep. That 05 championship or 04 when they went against Detroit, 05, 04, whatever. But that Spurs team was boring as hell, but it looked different. And like I said, when you look at your core, right? Argentina, France, and Caribbean.
Fair enough.
Right there, you have the makings of an international team right there. And then let's not forget, you still had a couple other, foreign players on there as well. Patty Mills from Australia, so, they all played an international game, just Pop's, tutelage, I guess, under Pop's tutelage. But I'll take it back even further, man. You're looking at the evolution of the game. You talked about the 3-point shot. The 3-point shot back in the day would have got you benched. You chuck up too many of them, you're getting benched.
You had to be down.
Yeah, unless
you had to be wide. You had to be wide open.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or your name had to be Mark Price, Craig Hodges, Michael Jordan, of that ilk, right? You had to be of that. But I look at it, right? And before we went, I looked at the question. I was like, I'm going through the eras. I'll take it early 80s, man, when you had Magic and Bird, right? Marquee matchup, probably one of the biggest rivalries of all time, Lakers Celtics. You look at they bashing heads. You got the Sixers floating in there every now and again, kind of making a little bit of noise. You transition, to the 90s with the Jordan era Bulls, the Pistons. It was basically the East would beat up on each other. It was bully ball, right? Bully ball in the 90s with a little bit of finesse. You transition to when Jordan left the game, and now you have more finesse. You had the baggy shorts era, the thug league, right? The jail blazers and all that stuff. Everybody wanted to jump over everybody. No defense was being played. You saw the 7-second or less offense with Phoenix and stuff like that. There was no defense to be found in the league. So now you start getting an influx of star players like your Dirks, like your Steve Nashes, and those guys. Those are coming in, and you're starting to kind of pay attention to these dudes. And more and more, Dirk's fadeaway three-pointer. The 1-footed three-pointer, unstoppable, right? Steve Nash. Man, he could hit you from here right now. Somehow that ball will wind up in your car from Steve Nash.
Yeah, you're right.
And you're looking at it, and we're at the next stage of where we got a little bit of all of that with the culmination of the Golden State and Cleveland series, where you had another transcendent star doing things you've never seen done before with the basketball with Steph Curry, up against another transcendent star like LeBron. Basically the definition of positionless basketball, right? This dude can play all 5 positions. Yes, he's a little bit weaker on the 3-point shot, but he's gotten better, as he progressed. So you're looking at these two go to head. You're looking at the culmination of that. And now we're looking at the next phase where, okay, Euros run the league. Euros are going to run the league probably for the next 10 years because we got even more coming
10?
in. Yeah. I say for the next 10 because these kids are going to have to go back and take notes. You're seeing it already with the Olympic team, how hard they're struggling against these guys.
Man, I will tell you what sets them apart and from Euro basketball, from NBA basketball, is because these guys can turn pro at like 14, 13.
Yes, I was going to ask you. I'm glad you brought that up.
They're playing against grown men. So to get to your point, all Dirk's shot was an adaptation of a hook shot, but it was a 3-pointer.
Yeah.
You can't stop it.
Yep.
You're gonna foul him. You're gonna foul him or break his ankle. One of the
and he probably had to learn that shot as a kid because he was smaller.
He was short. Yes, exactly. He was short.
Yeah.
He was short, just like with Steph. Steph, his shot, the way he shoots, you can tell. He's okay. Steph's probably like 6'3", maybe 6'2".
He's 6'3",
yeah.
Yeah, but he didn't. He was short. He was short.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to learn how to shoot, and he probably was getting his ass kicked. I mean, let's just be real. And he had to figure out, hey, just like Reggie Miller. When you watch the Reggie Miller and Cheryl Miller, how he had to get that shot because he would always block it. And now you can't stop it. And it's just determination. And I think the one thing that the AAU was cool and all that for kids, just getting back to the pro setting in the Euro. AAU is cool. But I'm just telling you, these kids are playing like some of the best players I've ever seen played against grown men, like from the time they were 10 on up.
Yeah.
And it's just like they got there, took their lumps, they got their weight, they got their height, and then they come back senior year of high school. You can't stop these guys. You know what I'm saying?
You're right. And
I think that's a great point.
I look at this, and I'll make this quick point, Jeff, real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you go right ahead, man.
We're 10 years old, about 10, 11 years away from when Dwight Howard was playing in the finals against Kobe. And Dwight Howard was borderline the face of the league. That dude was everywhere. They were pumping him up to be one of the faces of the league. He was on the commercials, all kinds of junk.
Goofy.
Yeah. Well, aside from that, right? But his dominance at that small window. What happened to this dude? Like, imagine if he had went to Europe, if he had the training of a Euro player, what Dwight Howard would have looked like, So, I mean, those
areas, David Robinson.
Exactly. They come and go so quick.
He probably would have been, if he would have worked out with Dream, that's who he would have been.
Yeah, he turned it down. He turned it down.
Yeah, he turned it down. Exactly, he turned it down.
Well, that Dwight's he's a unique conversation. He is what he is. What could have been, or what ifs, or whatever you want to call it. And that's a good, yeah. And I think you brought up a good one too. When I look at the missing link here, it's those early 2000s Steve Nash Phoenix teams, to where like, I think that was the, whatever the diving board, for when everybody's like, oh, this might work, and Steve there, and Steve, if he would have played in this era, would have shot more threes. To me, he was the guy that kind of, transitioned as far as the smaller players, the guards.
I tell you who else we forget about too. Those 2000 Sacramento Kings teams too.
Yep.
They were built kind of like what we're looking at now as well. So
really good.
Yeah.
And a lot of what's changed too is what they did was, especially Golden State, the Cleveland teams, they took their big man and they're like, okay, you don't necessarily have to be 7 foot and swat the ball out of the gym, but we need you to be able to pass and quickly. And that's the European thing that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. And that was the biggest transition, is small ball, like everybody's small. Yeah. And this Portland team, you talk about the Jailblazers, like they could have done that when they had Rasheed and all that.
Bonzi Wells.
Bonzi?
Bonzi Wells.
Yeah, those teams were good, man, but they played at a time with those nasty, early 2000 Lakers.
You know why that team why they never got over the hump? Because they took a chance on an older European player who was really good, but he was just fast as time.
Yep.
Had they got Arvydas Sabonis 6, maybe 4 years prior, 4 years.
Yep.
I'm gonna give him 4. There was nobody in the league like when the Bulls found out with Tony Kukoc. Like, oh my God, this dude he has the height, he can shoot, he has all the intangibles they were looking for. He's a compliment player because you forget about him because of Mike and Pip.
Yep.
Yeah. He's one of the most forgotten players of all time, if we're really being honest.
Only time you remember Tony Kukoc is if you talk about the Bulls by chance, but as far as like throwing him out there, we've talked about how many different Euro players, and now 22 minutes into this, Tony Kukoc ain't just
Tony, I remember he had some big games in some of those finals runs where he was the reason they won a game.
Mm-hmm.
Look, and rest in peace to Drazen Petrovic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man,
Detlef Shrimp.
Yep. Sarunas Marcelonis, him too.
Hey man, the Duncan Dutchman, if he didn't have them bad feet.
To go along with that bad haircut.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah, man, nothing looked right with that dude. But
he looked like the dude that was sharpening pencils in detention, waiting to shank somebody in the back.
He wasn't quite ready.
He looks like that guy when they had that meet. I like turtles. That dude, like that's that guy. But I'm just saying, like, look at the players we've named, and careers were either we didn't get to see the whole career, or we saw career injuries, or death, But even those guys were special, like, the Drazen with the whatever blue that was with the Nets when they had the little checkerboard floor back in the day. Yep. And that dude was just chunking threes, and it was like, he's open. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I think realistically, when we talk about players that transcended the game, it's a lot of players that had short careers that were doing stuff, and it caught on, and then they would either be out of the league or whatever, and then it would be like, okay, we're going back to give the ball to a big man and try to score down low. Yeah.
That's a good point. They would always fall back into those traps. You're right. Every time we talked about some of these teams, we talked Sacramento, Trail, like they wouldn't commit to that. They were like, nah, this almost worked, and then let's go back. There was even some Nuggets teams back in like the late 80s that were putting up 130, and then Chris Jackson comes along and just, but they just didn't stick with that format.
Yeah,
they didn't see it.
And Shaq didn't help because he comes along and he's so dominant. They're like, no, we're going back to Shaq, and then Robinson, and then Duncan. So everybody's like, no, we need to get back towards the center, and then Golden State just blew it out of the water.
Yeah,
Shaq had no choice but to be good. He had no choice but to be good.
Yeah.
None, because you're 7 foot, man, 400 pounds, and I'm talking about in shape. Shaq was
280,
a
wasn't he? He was like 280 in shape.
yeah, in shape. Shaq
Oh.
was a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Orlando Magic Shaq was a problem, and I don't even like
Year-
Shaq.
Year one Lakers Shaq was a
Oh
problem.
my God.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had and that's just it's freakish. And then but then everybody's like, well, we got to draft a guy to stand in front of him. What they should have done, that's when they should have went. Forget the center. We need to just run to the perimeter. That's the only chance we got.
Run around.
And what did Detroit do when they upset them? They're like, we don't care.
Yeah.
We'll play out here in the mid range and the perimeter, and if you get your 30, fine. But
Yeah. Somebody else has got to beat us. That's pretty much what they said.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was
key on Kobe because Kobe was carrying that team. Yep.
So
and that was the year with Kobe was going back and forth to court. I mean, that's part of it. That's a real part of that conversation.
That's a good point you brought up, Jeff. Like, a lot of people don't realize, some people like LeBron. LeBron is going to get his, now 25, 26 points. But it's like, make Danny Green beat us. You know what I'm saying? Or make, when they won the chip, or make Dennis Schroeder beat us. Make this guy beat us.
Which is what San Antonio did.
Yeah.
We know LeBron's going to get his, but,
Nope.
And teams are so scared that we got to contain. No, you don't. Just stay in front of them. You got 5 fouls, 6 fouls. Like,
well, Phoenix just showed you how to do it. Phoenix just showed you. So yeah,
that's true. So we'll transition on. So what we talked about the evolution. You guys already kind of brought this up. I mean, the next phase. It feels like I don't know. It doesn't feel like you guys think it's going backwards. What do you think the next 10 years looks like in the NBA?
Euro dominance.
Yeah.
Euro dominance. You're gonna start seeing more Euro players come out as number one picks than beside your Andrea Bargnanis and all that nonsense. You're gonna see some you're gonna see some real heavy hitters coming.
That's a rough one.
Yeah, I know Darko was terrible. But yeah, I mean it's about to be dominated. You're gonna see Luka's gonna get an MVP and Giannis and Luka will be the faces of the league for the next 10 years.
Almost have to be, right? I mean, there's some good guys like Tatum and Booker's going to be good, but as far as the face, man, no offense, Kels, but if Giannis pulls this off, it's going to be a big deal.
So look at it like this. You said face. I get that. Face of the league, but do you think the faces with Luka and you brought up Luka, and I know Giannis is playing in the finals, so that story has yet to be written. So, do you think Luka's going to win a chip? If he's the face of the league and doesn't win a chip, how does that work?
That's a great question. How are we going to treat these guys if they don't? Are we going to hold them to the fire like we do LeBron and Kobe and Shaq?
How do you view Chris Paul?
Man, Chris Paul's a tough one with me.
Because that's how you would have to look at Luka. I would think at some point
I think
in his career, if he still doesn't have anything, you would have to look at Luka the same way you look at Chris Paul.
Well, look at it like this. Okay, all these guys, LeBron, Steph, Clay, Durant, all the guys just above the younger guys now, in 10 years are going to be out of the league, right? So with Chris Paul, when Chris Paul was in, he always was, in my opinion, was overlooked because we had this plethora of players playing at the time. But he was the point guard. There was no mistake in that. But it was just like Chris Paul's on channel 8, but Kobe's on channel 10. Like, it's like, you're not watching a New Orleans Hornets game. You might check the box.
They would get that 10:30 slot when you're ready to go to bed. You ain't really trying to care about the New Orleans Hornets.
Yeah,
Yep.
So I would say Chris Paul, like Jeff said, that's a touchy one for me because Chris Paul's been that guy chipping away. Did he have some great teams? Yes. Should he have stayed? He stayed too long in one place or another? Yes. But he's never really been able to choose his own. Like, he's never been able to choose where he wanted to go, has he? He's always been traded.
Finally, we're going to Phoenix, I think it was.
And I was going to
Okay.
bring that up. Let's. Chris Paul has a different career if they don't forfeit that trade. They don't block that trade
Oh,
to the
yeah.
Lakers.
Oh, yeah.
He's
They
got an
would've won
entirely
it.
different career.
They probably
He's
would
got
have won it.
he's got 3 championships right now.
Yeah.
I believe it.
But back to your question, Jeff. Like I said, the next 10 years, like I said, it's going to be Euro. It's going to be Euro
I
heavy.
believe that. I believe that.
And we're gonna look at these college players coming out like we looked at Euro players like about 5-6 years ago. We're like, okay, that's a cool.
Oh
name.
wow!
Yeah, they did some stuff. Euro players gonna dominate. I'm telling you. And then
Is there still going to be college players, or is it going to be going to the pros out of high school, like the G League kind of stuff?
I think LaMelo kind of put the blueprint on how to do
too.
it. On how to do it if you bypass college. He just showed the blueprint on how to do it. You come in, you get against grown men. He took the Euro route that all the Euro
route. He
that
did.
Rubio and all those guys took and came in, and they were already used to playing against grown men, so he had no problem coming in and destroying these cats. So
I ask you, we're the Culture Marauders. So like, here's a bonus question. What does that look like as far as we know how much of like young culture, hip hop culture, all this stuff is linked to the NBA, and we love it. I mean, you think of the Iverson days, all these guys. How does that hold up as far as like the culture of basketball and the shoe sales and all that? Do you think that holds up with the European players?
Yes, and I think it's going to tap into a totally different market because it's always catered to American, specifically the Black community, right?
Yep.
It's always catered to that. It's our culture, even though it's a universal music. You got hip hop in England, you got it in Germany, and so forth. But now you're going to be able to tie a European face to the culture, and then it's also going to bring in some of these European rappers and all these guys. Like you got the guys up in England, like Skepta or Scepter or whatever his name is, and all those guys that are making small noise. They're going to start blowing up because these players are going to start riding with these dudes, and they're going to be down with them, therefore bringing them into the mainstream culture. So
I think that's I like that take on it. That makes me feel better.
Look, all it takes is a release of a shoe and a commercial. That's all it takes.
If I was Luka, I would put Europe's top MC on my commercial for my shoe. That's all you got to do, and it changes everything.
And we saw it work with soccer. I mean, we know how many. I know kids that their favorite players are Messi, Ronaldo, and guys like that. So we do know that the fame crosses over. And I hadn't really thought about leaning into it like that. I thought more about like the New York side of it and all that. But I think it's. You made me feel better about it. I feel better about it now than I did maybe 5 minutes ago.
And look at, I still think Africa is such an untapped market because you looked at the Nigeria game. You still got the players out of Cameroon. The players out of Cameroon. We haven't even really touched that market yet. And imagine what you could do if you could pull some of the resources from Africa.
Well, they have Joel Embiid.
No. I'm saying, but some of the if you tap into that market besides the actual player, like their culture, like their MCs, their music, their clothing.
Oh yeah.
You start bringing that over here. I'm telling you, sky's the limit because it's truly going to be a global game, and you're going to be able to grow it everywhere. And it's going to help Adam Silver grow those different leagues in those different parts of the world.
And we can't forget too how China is digesting this.
Yao Ming was a big catalyst for that. Just for the Asian market alone.
Yeah, the Chinese money that's flowing in and the way they devour the sport, it's huge. It's huge. Some of these players, I forget who it was. I think it was Dwayne Wade had some Chinese endorsements when he was playing, and made
Klay Thompson too.
Well, they make a bunch of money.
Yeah, and you don't necessarily, and they're showing that you don't necessarily have to be one of the heavyweights in the shoe game like your Adidas, your Nikes, your Under Armours, and Reebok. Well, Reebok, so what? Puma now is making some noise, but now all these smaller brands are cutting deals with these athletes, and you're seeing it, and the growth is there, the money is there.
All the monies.
Yeah. Go back to the early 2000s where And One was putting out shoes, and they had Kevin Garnett and Jadakiss on a commercial.
Bro,
Push it and One.
I'm gonna stop you right there. Kevin Garnett, and since you brought this up, and I know that's your guy.
Hey, watch your mouth. Watch your mouth.
I know that's your guy, but he had one of the dopest Nike shoes, and just let it go.
Let it go.
Some And Ones.
Yeah.
And that what's the name did that? Somebody else did that too. They had a dope first, second shoe, and then just
Duncan had a dope shoe with Nike,
he
and
did
he
have it.
burned off. Yeah.
Kevin KG went to Adidas and Nike too, right?
Yep. He went to N1 after he left Nike, and then went to Adidas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just think that, like you said, if the markets are tapped, if like you said something about the college game, Jeff. I think now I think the college game. I don't know where the college game is going as far as
I really don't.
You got to pay them.
Look, listen, and I'm glad you said that, because I was talking to someone earlier today, and I was like, these kids might stay for more than 1 year now.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible.
And I said you might see some dynasties back up, because in the NCAA they slow played everybody like, no, we don't want to do this. And then it's like, yeah, do it. And it's like, you know what? By doing that, if some booster or some Nike or whoever, whatever company comes in, Coke, hey, we'll give you $2 million if you stay 3 years. Or we'll give you this if you stay 3 years. And now you might start seeing a whole bunch of guys come out like back in the 80s when people went to school 4 years or 3 years.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Do you think we'll start seeing college kids represent the U.S. if that happens in the Olympics versus pros? Do you think we'll go back to
Don't they have to have one college player on the team?
That's it, though.
Two.
I think they just have to have one.
Yeah, but I'm saying instead of playing using NBA players, do you think they'll go back to using these college kids?
Man, I don't know what – I tell you what, after this weekend, I don't know what Team USA's plan is, because I wouldn't blame the NBA players for being like, okay, that's enough. Like, we played this thing out. But if we send our college players right now against Europeans, like, they're going to get demolished.
Yeah. Well, I think that, and not to cut you off, Jeff, I think that the NBA, what they're gonna do is what they should do is obligate for when is the Olympics? Every 8 years, every 4 years, summers,
Every four.
They should obligate the top players in the league and throw them some more money and say, hey, you're playing. Because we need this gold medal. Like, because you know how many people opted out and aren't playing? Like, we got
Go ahead.
We got the Tier C squad out there almost.
Man, that's putting it kindly. The heck, has Steph ever played on an Olympic team? I don't think he has.
I don't believe so.
He's never been on an Olympic team.
I don't think he wants to.
Well, he's always coming off the finals too. Like when they were the last time they played him.
Last year he was hurt. This year, I mean, he's never been on an Olympic team.
I don't think they would. I don't think they would put him on there because he's always hurt. I think more so they would put I think they will put Clay on there. I mean, a healthy Clay, probably reserve Clay to come off the bench, shoot some threes. But no, I don't think Steph's ever played.
Yeah, I thought about that last.
Did Reggie play? Did Reggie play?
Reggie? Yeah, Reggie's on Dream Team too.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. They got the, but to me, it's not necessarily a bad thing because we just sat here and talked about how great the world is at basketball. I tweeted it out. I got some kickback, but I'm like, the game doesn't belong to America. As much as I love it, I don't think it, and I don't really want it to.
Not anymore.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
It makes it fun. Like you have to have. Not only do you have to have league parity, now you have to have world parity. It's cool to see Nigeria, who used to be the laughing stock. I remember when I used to have the USA basketball game on Sega Genesis, and Angola was an option to play. Nobody picked Angola to play on that game. Now, the teams, man, I'm telling you, they came out. Them dudes showed out. They were athletic. They were hungry, and they embarrassed that squad. And then Australia turned around and did it too.
So it feels like really like the answer we're looking for, the evolution, was the '92 Dream Team.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what changed basketball.
It did.
And set these things into motion. Which, I mean, why wouldn't it? I mean, we've still never seen anything like that again.
We sent the world home beat up and bruised, and they never forgot that.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, when this guy retires, we coming. We coming. And just like the team, when they sent LeBron that first go round,
Man.
and
04.
they got a bronze medal.
Dude, I was at the game when they lost to Italy in Cologne. I was stationed in Germany, and I was at that game.
Whoa.
And I had on my Olympic jersey. It was an MWR trip up to Cologne. We was all hyped, cruising on the bus. And that bus was silent when we came back. We were like, what the hell just happened? Italy just blazed them dudes, man. Because it was Iverson, Duncan, Marbury, Michael Redd, Emeka Okafor.
Man. That was a mess.
And then LeBron, D-Wade, and Carmelo were coming off the bench because Larry Brown didn't want to play him because they were rookies. Larry Brown sucks, man. I can't stand Larry Brown, dude. Whack.
Man, that pretty much right there. That I've played with Italians in Italy when I was stationed in Aviano, and I will tell you, no matter what move you think you got, what you about to do, nope. Because these mugs play just like on TV. Pass. Everybody can dribble. Everybody can shoot.
Yeah.
And it's like 3-man weave. They coming down doing stuff, scoring, running, because they play soccer. So you got to think.
That's what I was going to ask.
If you're playing soccer on a field and then you come in to just run 90 feet, oh my God, dude, that's nothing.
Yeah.
They sprint.
It's like playing a football game in a gym.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot easier. Man. So speaking of which, this is a great question, and I got you guys on, so I got to ask it. What do you guys miss about? We'll call it the old school game, like early '90s, late '80s, whatever you want to pick from. Like just something you just miss about it.
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know if I really miss besides certain players. Like I miss watching Barkley. I miss watching Jordan. I miss watching like Olajuwon. Like I didn't really appreciate Olajuwon when he was there until after. And I wish I had paid more attention. Magic, I wish I had caught a little bit more Magic. But besides that, man, I think the late '90s to 2000s, even though that was kind of like the garbage era because it was a transition time from Jordan to LeBron, Kobe-ish type era, I think that part was probably better because you kind of got rid of the power teams outside of LA.
You started fresh.
It
was a complete restart after Jordan left.
Leveled the playing field. Instead of the East being the monster, the West took over. And you started seeing your San Antonios, you started seeing your Sacramentos, your LAs, your Phoenix start bubbling. And then the East was a little weak, except for the anomaly that was the Detroit Pistons. But other than that, I mean, I don't know, man. I enjoy it. And then you saw Durant and them coming up and all that stuff. I think I enjoyed that a little bit much. I kind of miss the physicality. I miss the physicality and the shit talking. That's what I miss.
That's kind of what I was going to get at. I kind of miss the personal rivalries or the team rivalries. Like, and I understand why they took some of that out of the game. Some of it was because people just couldn't handle it. You know what I mean? We know the malice in the palace and everything and the dress code. And we know some of not everything behind that was totally genuine, but it is what it is. But I kind of miss just some of the just the bitterness, because I grew up watching, Lakers, Celtics. You had to pick one. You had to hate one. Then some of the Bulls Knicks series, and that's always a misnomer.
No, Pacers Knicks series.
Pacers Knicks series. Great. And I'm not saying they're not competitive now, but just some of the chippiness that you could get away with. I miss some of that. I'm not saying I want the bad boys back. That was too much,
Yeah.
But I miss being able to shove a guy and just the ref just be like, all right, that's enough.
Yeah. Or talk mess to Spike Lee. You see somebody talking mess to Spike Lee running up the court. That was fun. Like you get.
That's how much fun was that to watch Trae Young this year for Atlanta? Like that was so much fun.
Man. Yeah.
So I'll say this. You brought up a point. A lot of people always like the Bulls and whoever they were playing. A lot of people forget that first championship run, the Cavs were a really good team. The Cavs were a really good team. And Mark and Craig Elo?
Brad Daugherty, all the kids.
Craig Elo was like scoring 20-something points a game. He was
Yep.
hooping.
Yeah.
So you think about all those guys, and like getting back to my point, a lot of people say, "Oh, the Bulls." This man, that Pacers Knicks series was always fun.
94 year, man, where Ewing missed that lay-in at the
man,
with
look,
the Davis brothers.
Yep.
and then you had the Phoenix and whoever they were battling when they were trying to get to the finals that year.
Seattle.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, look, that was great basketball. I don't miss the like you said, the physicality of people getting knocked out of the air and landing on their elbows or wrists, or and it just be a foul. You know what I'm saying? Like I hate to see that, but the thing that I can't stand now, just to kind of tie the two together, is everybody's friends. Everybody's friends.
Yep.
Everybody's friends in the league. Oh, hey, you know what? After this game, guys, come over to my house. Hey, Bron's throwing a party, and it's like everybody goes. Yeah. We can be friends after the season, but during the season, like, let's go at it. Let's hoop. Leave it all out on the floor. Whatever. But in a sense, I think it's been good for the game because a lot of these guys with trades and free agency will never happen are happening now because these guys are cool and say, oh, well, I want to go play with Chris Paul, or I want to go play with this guy. And then they go. And then you're like, wow, like, okay, cool. Didn't see this coming. Didn't know they were friends like that, but all right, cool.
And to piggyback off what you said, talking about, them being buddies, and then Jeff, with your question about the evolution of the game, you look at the evolution of the game from their stars, right? Michael Jordan changing the whole business landscape with the sneaker deal, Nike, the endorsements and all that stuff. He changed all of that.
That he didn't want to take. Right.
And then you turn around and look years later with LeBron changing how players now have control of their careers in the league. That whole decision thing, he gets knocked for it, but that had ripple effects throughout all of sports period, not just the NBA, sports period, because you're looking at Aaron Rodgers today talking about he doesn't want to come back to the Packers even though he's under contract. He's making his decision, and now the Packers are going to have to make a move on that because he just doesn't want to be there. The Lakers got Anthony Davis under the same idea. Hey, I don't want to play here. I don't care what the contract says. Get me out. And that's all because of LeBron. Granted, he was a free agent, but he showed that they're not coming here to see Mark Cuban or JD in the straight shot and the band like Holly said. They're not coming here to see the owners. They're coming here to see us. We make the money for this league. And so that's part of the evolution as well from a business standpoint and taking control of your career.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? That's a huge difference in today's game. I'm glad you brought that up. The business side's drastic. Like, and I have no problem with that. I'm always a player guy because, and I know it goes too far, but that's how it had to be. Like, they were restricted for so many decades.
Yes.
They wouldn't give these guys money or what they owed. And football is still way behind.
Right. And didn't they say, like, free agency in the NBA didn't come along until like the 90s or something like that? It was something weird. Like, it hasn't been that long.
It was like the late 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. Like, and that's crazy. So, I mean, more power to him, man. More power.
Well, free agency was almost like if you basically it's like waiving a guy. If you waive a guy, somebody can pick you up off waivers. Free agent. I mean, it's like you don't have a home, you don't have a castle to call your own. So it's like, but Jeff, I have a question for you.
Okay.
And this guy and I talk about this all the time. Not to take too much off of what we're doing, but I have to ask you this question. Who do you think will be the first person to jump ship and go and play with the Knicks?
Oh, man. I've changed my mind like weekly. Like, I really, really thought Dame. And then I'm like, now I'm starting to back off Dame.
Good.
And then
you should, man. Smart play.
I mean, that was my original thought. And then, of course, see, at the Off the Ball Network, we've got several Knicks fans, and this is a constant conversation. Like today, I hear Sexton's going there. Not that that's a big name, but today's all about Sexton going there and trading RJ Barrett. Like, that's today's
topic. RJ Barrett needs to be traded. Okay, yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
And a couple years ago, I believe KD was going there. We all know that didn't work out. So, man, I mean, okay, I'll just throw it out there. Like, I don't know how happy he is. I think it could be Luka. I think they could have Luka within 3 years.
We
And if we're talking big name,
that's not bad.
yeah,
That's not bad.
I think we've touched on that, haven't we?
No, we said Luka will wind up in like or New York's a bigger market. I don't think we said he would go there. I think we talked about
I think that's one of the names we threw out, and it was like, nah, dude, like no way.
Yeah,
I think he could kind of. His attitude seems to me. I've kind of through watching the playoffs, like I could see him more there than I could have a year ago. A year ago, I would have said, stays in Dallas or even winds up at Houston or LA, something like that. But
I would
he could be in New York, and he would be it would just be huge. It'd be so giant.
What about this? What if Brooklyn traded Kyrie for Luka?
Oh, geez. I don't even know if that's a possible trade. It doesn't feel like that's something that could happen. Kyrie would not be happy with that.
No, he wouldn't. But Kyrie, that dude done burned every bridge. They weren't happy with him down like this year. They tolerated him because when he played, he was productive.
Yeah,
but just the attitude and everything. And
he's had a weird career. I think his career is going to be a what if when he's all said and done. I know it sounds crazy, but when it's all said and done, I think he's more of a what if, and that's fine if that's how he wants to. That's his life. That's his choice. But as far as an NBA career,
you touched the nerve, Kels. Well, go ahead, Jeff. You touched the nerve.
But yeah, that's so. I could see Luka there. Like as far as if we're talking like mega stars, I think they'll pick up somebody good this year. It's always hard for me because I just don't know where these guys are at in their contracts. I mean,
Kels is the contract guy.
And that's tougher. And my guys are too. We got several guys at the network that break this down and they'd have an answer for you. But just something feels that they're going to be at the point to where they're ready for that big star. He's going to be at the age. He doesn't seem to love it down there already. And
not anymore.
Usually once there's smoke now, it feels like this happens. Like every player we've heard about being unhappy leaves.
Yep.
But I don't think Dame is that guy because I think if he was going to make the move, he would have already.
Don't talk about that guy either. Don't talk about that guy either.
Hey, what about Zion going to New York?
Bingo. That's it.
Oh, that's who they want.
I can see that happen.
That makes the most sense, right?
It does. It does.
And I'm still Zion. I know this sounds crazy. Everybody sees it. I'm not saying that I don't believe in him, but I don't see that. I don't see the next step that everybody sees.
I don't see it either. I don't either.
I could be wrong. I understand what he does really well is he's awesome and he's kind of rare because of his size and speed and all that. But I try to picture like him carrying a team to a championship, and I just think
no.
help.
You know what he is? He is a short Shaq that can handle the ball halfway and shoot a little bit. He's a short Shaq.
I said he's a hybrid of Larry Johnson and Sean Kemp.
I think Larry. Oh,
nice. Yeah.
Yep. He's a cross between those two.
Yeah, Larry Johnson's a good comparison. And I know he can. I know and all that. I know he's a really good player, and I think he could go there. And I know they want him. I just don't know. Like, I just don't know if I see.
He's already said I love the Garden. I love it there.
Well, everybody loves the Garden because everybody wants to. Everybody has their best games there. Look at Kobe, Mike. Who else had a really dope game in the Garden?
I understand that. Besides saying that, they love it. Like I want to leave and go there because from what I'm understanding, his parents are saying that he's not happy or we're not happy with the direction that like they have a say in them. Well, they kind of do because their son, but I mean, I think and Kels and I talk about this a lot. Everybody, they laugh at me when I say Zion in New York. No one wants to play for Dolan. And I said, have you heard anything from James Dolan in a year and a half? You haven't. Because he's shut up and he's playing his gigs and stymies and the drunken bastard, he's playing his gigs there and he's like, hey, they got Tibbs, they got a really good coach. And they got a lot of stuff because you got to realize what the playoffs do for a player's capital, what it does for their stock. Just like we just talked about him. Kyrie Irving played 12 games for Duke. 12. 12. I'm a Carolina fan.
No
So,
one.
yeah. And all he did was had a good little run in the tournament. He had a good little run in the tournament. Oh, he's number one pick.
That's insane to me.
But
12.
in all fairness, who was better than him in that draft? If you can remember anybody else from that draft,
I don't
besides Tristan Thompson, who was number 4 and went to the Cavs as well. Who else was in that draft? Exactly.
It had to be somebody lower seed that did something. Because I know that first 10 was like trash, wasn't it?
Not the deepest draft. Not the deepest draft.
Yeah.
But
So.
Jeff, I just had to ask you that question just because we talk about it all the time, but we don't get a chance to ask someone else that loves the game like we do. You know, I had to ask you that question because we argue about it like what 3 times a week.
Weekly.
Yeah, weekly. So.
Yep.
Hey, I'm more interested, to be honest with you, in who's going to be the next superstar in Chicago. Like, it feels like I've been waiting for a minute.
Look.
He's not the answer. Levine's not the answer.
I thought it was going to be Denzel Valentine, but see how that turned out.
Who?
Right?
Was he even on the roster?
Bro, I'm going to tell y'all right now, I don't fail the eye test too often, but I thought that guy was like, I'm like, man, after the rookie, he's going to, nope.
Nope.
You know what I wouldn't be surprised to see? Anthony Davis go home.
I've heard that.
Now listen.
But now I kind of feel like the way Kyle feels about some of these players, that's kind of where I'm at with AD, because I'm like, you got to be on the court to play.
Yeah, always hurt.
Street clothes, Davis.
Yeah, I didn't think that was too unfair. Like, I'm like, come on, man.
So you got Kobe White up there. You can send AD up there. Send Levine to LA. You have your slasher and your shooter, and you still got Montrezl Harrell and who was the other center down there? It was Harrell and who was starting for LA? I know they got Gasol, Harrell, and somebody.
Schroeder,
No.
Moncrief Morris, one of the Morris boys.
Yeah, one of the Morris. So you're still solid, but now you're making it for Moncrief Morris.
Yeah.
Moncrief.
But I think it would serve 2 purposes, right? AD's going home, so you're going to get the ticket sales. And then you're going to have that presence down low. You're going to have the down low score, and you're going to get people come to the game to see the hometown hero return.
AD, who we talking about with the down low score? I mean, the in the paint scoring.
For
AD?
who?
For Chicago.
Yeah.
AD?
Well, no, because they still got is Wendell Carter still there? Or is he gone?
Who?
Wendell Carter?
Who?
Wendell Carter Jr. Wendell Carter Jr.
God.
No, they still got Lauri Markkanen. They got him out there. They got some players.
AD's not playing. AD plays like he thinks he's Iverson sometimes, man. I don't know what that guy's up to.
Well, he was a point guard. He was a point
guard.
But not a great one.
No.
He's not a great point guard, but here's what you have to understand. For his size and ability at his height,
6'11"?
6'11", look, handling the ball like right around the 3-point line, pulling up, taking that fadeaway shot that he can hit.
Yeah. The only big men with better handles than him, Kevin Durant and Ben Simmons at that size.
Kevin Durant's not a big man at that size, but he's not a big man.
He's damn near 7 feet. He ain't a big man.
Was Dirk a big man?
Yes.
Sorry, guys.
Where did Dirk play? He played the 2, right?
Did he? I think they put him at the 3. That 3 or 4. That's a big mismatch.
So put AD at the. I hate to say it, but put him at the 3. Like, let him play 3.
Yeah,
why not? At this point, why not?
Exactly. And then
That's what he wants to do. It's what he wants to do.
Yeah, and then just let him. Who's the coach up there? Who's the coach in Chicago?
Billy Donovan.
Okay, yeah, Billy D knows how to utilize him. He's good. Like, I'd let him go and trade Zach LaVine.
Send him back.
Hey, somebody, we're grasping for straws.
I know.
We got AD going to a D League team in Chicago.
But this is what me and Kyle do every week. Every week at some point we throw out just random trades and weirdo stuff like that. So,
Hey man, this stuff happens. Chris Paul's in Phoenix. Like nobody's 3 years ago, this didn't make any sense. So things happen all the time.
Hey, look, I'm guilty. I laughed at that trade. I was like, this is not going to work.
No, I thought it was a good move.
I was one of the people that said that. It's not going to work.
Yeah, I didn't see it working like this. I'll admit that. I was like, oh, they'll definitely go to the playoffs after what they did last year.
But you know what the key was? The key was finally getting Ayton's ass in gear. That was the key. Because Ayton had about 3 years left in the league. Before he started hitting the carousel of getting traded.
The Sacramento, Dallas.
Before he becomes the that guy's still in the league?
The journeyman. The journeyman. I'm telling you, I read an article today. I think it was Mark Bryant is the one that's working with him. And basically got in his head and told him, like, hey, man, this is what we need you to do. And it clicked, and it's been rocking since. So.
And then he got one of the best point guards as far as for a big man of all time. That's huge.
Yeah, I know.
Look, before he becomes a trade bag, like, you don't like what you see, man? He does everything, man. Just go up to him and just talk to him, man. Just
like a used car salesman.
Yeah, like some old street booty, man. That's how they were about to treat him. That's how they were about to treat him.
Well, he's about to get paid like
man, just in time. Yep.
So gentlemen, I think we covered everything. My last question was, do we think the NBA is in a good place? But I think we answered that we feel good about where it's at. We're enjoying the playoffs. I think if nothing else, we proved that the people who actually watch basketball for the last 30 years are good with it. We're not a bunch of grumpy old men, complaining about fouls and all the bad boys and
if you love basketball, you love it regardless. Like I said, the early 2000s were kind of like a junk time, but you had good things that came out of that. Like it was high scoring, it was a different style of play. Vince Carter dunks, all kinds of crazy stuff like that. It was stuff you had never seen
during the dead ball era.
Yeah, exactly. The dead ball. And it just, it hits its peaks and valleys. And I think we're just kind of coming out of that because we just got beat over the head with so many Golden State and Cleveland matchups.
It did take away from those playoffs. You're right.
And they were great. Those Golden State Warriors teams were great. And what LeBron did with Cleveland was great. And it was a throwback to the Lakers-Celtics battles. But now it's like, okay, we need something different, and we're transitioning, and now we're going to see what this looks like going forward.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool to see. It's been pretty cool to see fresh. I mean, I think there's only one player, I believe, Crowder, right, that has been to the finals in this whole series.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yep.
That's amazing. So whoever wins it, man, they're going to be super, super happy. And then next year, what's cool is next year, neither of these teams are guaranteed to be back there next year. Neither of them are that good. So it's another open season. I'm loving it, personally, as it goes. So that's it, everybody. I want to thank everybody watching. I want to thank everybody that's listening to this, on the podcast. If you're listening on iTunes, of course, if you could give us a 5-star. Everybody go check out the Culture Marauders podcast. They're everywhere you can find podcasts. Go to their Facebook page. Go to their Instagram. They do a lot of work over there. Kel's does some interesting work. Interviews. You guys interview some amazing people. The shows are really cool. I know you're on a bit of a summer break right now, but there's plenty of stuff on there to catch up. I want to thank Curtis. I want to thank Kyle for coming on. This was great. It was you guys brought everything I knew you would. From basketball lovers from a long time. This was a lot of fun, guys. So I appreciate it. Yeah, check out offtheballnetwork.com, everyone. And have a great day and be kind to each other. Thanks, gentlemen.
Peace.
All right.